We now welcome in NFL and CBS analyst Charles Davis, starting with that Jags at Chiefs. Charles, the Chiefs racked up 486 yards of offense in their Week 10 victory over the Jags. Patrick Mahomes threw for 4 touchdowns. Kansas City is not a team that you can fall into a 27-point deficit with and expect another epic comeback. What does Jacksonville need to do in order to win this game?
Yeah, I think you're totally right about that, Katie. And I think this will be a much better game than what they played in November. It was 27-17, but a lot of that was cosmetics. Never did you think that Jacksonville was really in that ball game. So to me, I'm going to borrow a term from my friend Randy Moss, the great analyst for Triple Crown horse racing. You wanted to break out fast. And he said the term in horse racing for the one who breaks first from the gate is catch a flyer out of the gate. They've got to get out fast. They've got to score, and they've got to make Kansas City chase them. Last thing they want to do is do exactly what you talked about. Get into a hole and have to do the chasing themselves. They want to set the pace in this one and let Trevor Lawrence and that offense try and dictate to a Kansas City defense that's used to playing with a 14-point lead.
Well, now looking at the flip side of that, the Jags are coming into this matchup very confident on the heels of that epic comeback. How do the Chiefs keep these frisky cats in check?
Well, I got to get to another movie, Cobra Kai. They can't just sweep the leg, Katie. They've got to strike first, strike hard, no mercy. They've got to be the ones that said it, because on the defensive side of the ball, Kansas City's extremely aggressive. Steve Spagnuolo brings a lot of blitzes, a lot of pressure at people, but it also opens you up that if you don't get home, big plays can result. So downfield, tackle those guys who catch the football and don't let the explosive play get all the way to the end zone. Get Christian Kirk on the ground. Get Marvin Jones on the ground. Travis Etienne out of the backfield. Do not let those explosive plays find their way to the end zone.
All right, Charles, where the Chiefs are seeking a trip to their 5th conference championship in 5 seasons. Will they do it, or are you taking the Jags in an upset?
Well, look, we'd all love to find that upset and be the one to say, hey, I saw it first. I think Kansas City's on a mission in this one. And, you know, it was spotlighted before we even came on. They gave up a big second half lead last year. Patrick Mahomes is taking out all on his shoulders. And I don't think that he gets off the gas in a game like this one. I think that Kansas City wins and advances to the AFC Championship game.
Hard to argue with that one, Charles. I think the Chiefs also win this game. Thank you. We'll see you in just a second. All right, guys, Charles gave you the keys. Now, Sportsline analysts Larry Hartstein and Emory Hunt will tell you how to win money with it. Fellas, the Chiefs are 8.5-point home chalk, a pretty big number considering that KC is just 3-5 against the spread at home this season. Sharp money all over Jacksonville to cover with just 44% of tickets, but 89% of that money. Larry, how are you looking to attack this one?
I'm going to lean towards the Chiefs. I mean, that first game, they outgained them by a lot. They were -3 in turnovers. Jacksonville also had a successful onside kick, and they still lost by 10. That game closed 9.5 for 10, and now we're looking at a number of 8.5. And even though there is familiarity with Andy Reid and Doug Peterson, I think Reid off a bye, these guys are going to be ready to go, especially Kadarius Toney. I think is going to have a huge game. But I'm going to look at a prop, and that's Christian Kirk over his catches, over 5.5 in the first meeting. 9 catches on 12 targets. Last week, they were trailing big, 14 targets, 8 catches. In fact, according to Clev TA, the analytics guru, when the Jaguars are trailing by 7 or more points, this guy leads the team with 43 targets. I think they'll be trailing. I think it means a lot of Christian Kirk.
Listen, I'm going to take the Jags in the points here because I feel like it's old street fighting rules where you don't want to give a person you have beat confidence. And that goes for anything in sports as well, or anything competitive. And right now, the Jags have a ton of confidence coming into this ball game. Well, how well they played the back end of the season, how well they played in 2 essential playoff games already against the Titans and what we just saw last weekend against the Chargers. And now they come into this game confident from those 2 events, and also the fact that they have the familiarity, like you talked about, Larry, with this common opponent. So I think this one will be a lot closer. And I also like the over to hit as well. I think Jacksonville will be able to work touchdown and check down in the passing game. They have explosive elements on offense in Kirk and also Travis Etienne, as well as what we're seeing from Evan Ingram. So this is going to be a fun game, probably one of the better playoff matchups of the weekend.
All right, let's go ahead and recap those picks. Emory is looking for a shootout with this game. He likes the over 53, while Larry is looking towards the prop market with Christian Kirk over 5.5 receptions at -120. Moving on to the NFC Beast with our Charles Davis. Charles, the Giants have lost in 9 straight trips to Philadelphia. Their last victory was in 2013. New York pulled off quite the upset in Minnesota last weekend. How can they do it again?
Well, the good thing for the Giants is 6 straight times when they played a #1 seed in the playoffs, they've won. So this Giants team will go in with no fear on that one. You mentioned the guys just mentioned familiarity about teams, and talk about Jacksonville, Kansas they haven't played this year. These 2 teams have played twice. And while Philadelphia's won both of them, the Giants really played them off their feet in the last game without their starters. So to me, this game comes down to that Giants DNA, which is in the playoffs. They rush the passer really well. In Philadelphia, they love to run the football, but they love to run the football after they establish the pass. Let's see if they can get Leonard Williams, can get Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau home early and hem in Jalen Hurts, because he probably will run the ball a little bit more than he did in their last ball game, because this, it's win or go home. I think the Giants, that's the way to go after them. Keep Hurts hemmed in early and see if they can get that running game killed off before it can have an effect. The first game, the Eagles ran them into submission in the second half.
Yeah, they're definitely going to have to look out for that. Philly is looking to become the first team ever to beat the Giants 3 times in a single season. However, the G-men looked pretty good against the Vikings last week. Daniel Jones racked up 301 pass yards, 78 rush yards, and 2 touchdowns. Is stopping Dan Jones the key to Philly's success?
Well, I think it starts with stopping Saquon Barkley and New York trying to run the football. But you're on to something there, because Daniel Jones is an integral part of their run game. It's not just his scrambles, which are extremely effective, but the called quarterback runs as well. He'll probably run it around 15 times in this ballgame. I'd be surprised if it's less, in a combination of called runs and scrambles. Now, remember, Philadelphia, the best pass rushing team in the league this year. Got close to the Bears' record of 72, ended up with 70 when it was all said and done. They've got to do a bunch of things to make sure they keep Daniel Jones hemmed in, so that when he does decide to take off on those sorties, that people are already there. And a lot of that will be run blitzes. Clog up holes, keep him in there, and that'll go for Barkley and for Daniel Jones.
All right, we need a game pick from you on this one. Who do you like, the Giants or the Eagles?
I'm going fly, Eagles, fly. They get that home field advantage. They got it for a reason, but I think it's going to be awfully close. This Giants team, look, they won 1 game in the division all year against Washington, tied them, and lost twice to Dallas and twice to Philadelphia. But their fear factor is 0 going into this game and playing with as much confidence as anyone in the league. I do think Philadelphia finds a way, but it's going to be a grind.
It's going to be an absolute grind. Okay, welcoming back in Larry and Emory for the gambling perspective. The line has remained at 7.5, favoring the Eagles despite 80% of the handle on the G-men to cover. The point total is 48. Emory, I ask you every day, what would the Czar do?
The Czar lay the points with the Eagles and go about his day, because this is going to be easy pickings for Philadelphia. You look at what they did the last couple of meetings. They stopped Saquon Barkley and subsequently stopped Daniel Jones. And it's unfortunate for the Giants because, yeah, they can play this, cat and mouse game with everybody else, but you try to play this zone read option game with Philly, guess what they do? Zone read option, guess what they have? Athletic quarterbacks. You think that defense that goes up against a run game and athletic quarterback in Jalen Hurts won't be able to stop Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley? They've done it. They're going to make Daniel Jones be one-dimensional. I would say lay these points to Philadelphia. This will look a lot like the first matchup, and even against their backups. The Eagles did a great job against the Giants, who had problems scoring the ball, whether getting in field goal range or getting even into the end zone until late in the game. So this is going to be about the Eagles' defense matching up very well against what the Giants want to do offensively. So lay the points with Philly, but I also like the under. I think Philly will dominate this one and slowly choke the Giants out over the course of 4 quarters.
Emory, I lean Eagles with you as well, but I don't want to go against Brian Daboll and Dan Jones, as it was said, and the magic that they're creating. I know it'll be a totally different story than they face the Vikings, non-existent defense. This will be another challenge. The question for me is, how healthy is Jalen Hurts? If he's 100% healthy, yeah, I'm laying the points, but I don't know that for a fact. But I do want to focus on a prop, and that is Dallas Goedert over 47.5 receiving yards. if tight ends could play the Giants every week, they would all be all pros. I mean, TJ Hawkinson, 23 catches in 2 games against the Giants. The Giants blitz more than anyone else. That leads to a lot of quick throws. They rank 31st in coverage against tight ends. Goddard had 7 targets in week 18. He's going to have a big game. I'm going to go over 47.5.
All right, let's take a second look at those picks from the fellas here. Well, Emory likes the under 48, but he also said that he's going to lay the points with the Eagles and go about his day. Larry obviously leaning towards those Eagles as well, but he's looking at the prop market. He likes Dallas Goedert over 47.5 receiving yards.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.